Hey everyone, Joe Waxman here. And in this video, I want to talk about raising vibrations, raising your vibration, raising your frequency. So, before I begin, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'm available for readings. So, book a reading, macrogoalmachine@yahoo.com is how to reach me. So, yeah. Guys, all right. What are vibrations and why would we want to raise them? Um, so when I say raising vibrations, vibrations essentially are levels of consciousness, you could say. They parallel levels of consciousness. Very low consciousness is low vibe, low vibrational, and we talk about like vibes, is low vibe, heavy vibe, dense vibe. We have these bodies, these are more heavy, dense, low vibrational frequency compared to our spirit or soul, our various energetic bodies that we have, right? Which are all operating on higher frequency, higher vibrations, frequency, vibe, same thing. Um, Basically higher vibe is spinning faster, right? There's more energy deep inside, and a low vibe is very low energy, not spinning very fast, not very conscious, not very self-aware, heavy, dense. Uh, a lot of things can go along with it. The low vibe would be more like the sleeping consciousness or the semi-conscious, fear-based consciousness. Fear pain is what I call it. Eckhart Tolle would call it fear body, or pain body. Sorry, pain body. But essentially, it has the qualities of negative emotions: fear, pain, all the negative emotions, hatred, anger, sadness. These are all low vibrational frequencies, right? And what's happening is they're not spinning very fast internally. Their energy is low. So what they seek is more physicality, right? They seek physical expressions, the low vibe. Often anxiety is one expression because of that, because they have low internal energy, their energy manifests more physically, externally, right? So it's like shaking, right? When an animal is traumatized, it'll shake. That's anxiety. That's what that is. It's trauma, essentially, right? Fear is like, oh my God. Anger is like, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna punch you, right? Like there's a very physical expression there. All the low vibes have very physical expression, and that's one of the reasons why, like, if a person's very low vibe, they can't just sit still. They're always gonna be, I gotta do that. We're gonna run around and do this and that and that. They're not gonna just be like sitting there, peaceful. They might be asleep, but they're not gonna be sitting there consciously. A low vibe person can't just sit there still, because that's like a meditative state. You need to be much higher vibe. So the more internalized, the more higher vibe you get, the more internalized the energy is. That's why like a very high vibe person can be very, very calm, like totally calm. And the same thing parallels the mind. The higher vibration you get, the calmer the mind gets, right? So I don't want to make this too long because there's a lot to get through. So that's essentially it. High vibe means calm, still, peaceful, highly conscious, highly aware, full of internalized light, vibrating internally, right? The activity is internalized. Low vibe is heavy, dense, fear-based. The activity is externalized, right? It comes out as violence, aggression, anxiety, jitteriness, like just, like movement, unnecessary movement. People have to move around, do stuff all the time. Like, got to do stuff, got to keep busy, can't sit still, right? That's a low vibe state. So we want to raise our vibration because that's the whole point of life. That's why we're here. That's why we're not here to satisfy the ego. We're here because our soul wants to grow, wants to evolve. And that means raising our vibration. So the whole point of our earthly existence is to raise our vibration. That's it, right? We get caught in different things, and our ego wants this, our ego wants that, and people get caught down, paths that will take them to lower vibrations. But from a soul perspective, that's not why we're here. That's just like, I mean, experientially, yeah, we want to experience all things, but eventually we want to climb out of that, right? We don't want to get caught in the low vibe. So it's not like a judgment thing. Oh, you did a low vibe thing. You spent years, decades doing low vibe stuff. Like, that's fine. It's perfectly fine. When you've had enough of that, climb out of that, go towards more high vibe lifestyle and, everything, right? So that's what this is about. All right, so let's get into it. How do we raise our vibration? So the first thing I'm going to touch on is food. This is often overlooked. People don't often pay that much attention to it, or if they do, it's a very like if we're talking about like vegan, sometimes like people go vegan because they're like want to be more spiritual or sensitive or care. I'm not a fan of veganism because it's very dogmatic. Like what you want is to be sensitive to your body, right? You want to be able to pay attention to when you need something and when you don't need something. So yes, a lot of times in spiritual circles, they'll say vegetarianism is important and avoiding meat, especially because meat is heavy, meat is dense, meat is low vibrational, and it's not to uh, cast judgment upon meat. Some people need meat. Some people have very physical lives and they need that physical density. So I'm not casting any sort of judgment on it. But if you really want to like raise your vibration, raise your kundalini, same kind of energy, the raising, then yeah, you might want to consider eating less meat or avoiding it for a while or altogether, right? I mean, that's on you. That you got to make these decisions. But yeah, meat is heavy. Meat is low vibrational, and it's much more physical, and it'll make you more physical. If you're trying to be more spiritual, raising your vibration, yeah, it might not be the best thing. But again, you have to balance it out with your lifestyle, right? Pork. Pork. I think everyone should avoid pork. I mean, pork is just like there's really no use. It's not a healthy food. It's not healthy for you. Pigs are disgusting animals. They are. I mean, I'm not trying to as far as like animals for themselves, yeah. But like for us to eat them, they have no discrimination. They will eat everything under the sun. That means like zero thinking capacity because it's like, yeah, pigs are clever. They come with a certain cleverness, but when you're not discriminating, I want this, I don't want that. I'm making this choice. I'm not making that choice. You're losing that mercurial. Remember, Mercury has a sword of discernment. He's cutting and slicing things. He's saying, I want this and I don't want that. But if you're eating pig, you're just like, "Ah, give me everything." Like pigs are greedy, disgusting, dirty animals. So like not high vibrational. And there's a reason why billions of people across the planet don't eat pigs. Hindus, Muslims, Jews, right? Just right there. Traditionally, Japanese don't eat them either. It's because they're very heavy. Just like you're taking on a very low vibration. And believe me, food affects your mind and it affects your emotions. It affects your behavior and it affects your face. It affects the way you look, right? So if you want to look like a pig and people are like, and then like you actually people who eat a lot of pork, they get very fat. I know some people who, eat some bacon, bacon fat, whatever, they're not fat, but like a lot of times, and if you eat enough of it, it will because you're gonna take on that greedy mentality. You know, a pig, like if you have a pet pig, all they want to do is eat. That's all they do. That's it. They want to eat, and that's it, right? So avoid pork. I would also recommend avoiding chicken. I mean, because it's just kind of gross, and people eat a lot of chicken, become chicken-like. That's on you. I think fish is the best. I'm just putting out my 2 cents. I don't think chicken's a great alternative. I don't think it's healthy either, right? But again, probably for vibrational, a little better than meat and pork, right? Anyway. Just in general, you want to make sure your food's good quality. Guess what? Fast food's not good quality. I can't tell you how many people are like, they'll make some like comment about like, health, like, some uninformed comment, and then they're like, oh yeah, this is the best fast food joint. Guess what? Fast food is toxic shit. Like you're not healthy if you eat fast food, and you don't know anything about health if you eat fast. Like that's the antithesis of health. It's the antithesis of high vibe. Like fast food joints, it's like the worst food possibly. It's low vibe as can be, right? Like never mind health, it's just low vibe, right? Toxic shit. Um, yeah, avoid fast food. Avoid eat high vibe. Eat like shop at the farmers market. Buy organic. Like eat a lot of vegetables. Now there's like a trend to like eat all meat and and it's like cholesterol's not a thing. Like okay, but like energetically, that's still like really really dense and heavy, right? And you're not going to be raising your vibe by eating like that. Eat a lot of vegetables. Vegetables are the best thing, right? Um, Grains, beans, nuts, seeds, all of it. All the vegetation. Yeah, there's some like if you want to eat some eggs or fish and some good quality dairy, all good quality, organic, everything. Yeah, fine, right? Avoid factory farmed animal food. It's so bad. I mean, not only this, like people don't realize like everything that vibrationally that the animals pick up, you're ingesting. So like if you're eating factory farm meat and um there has been exposés where like farmers beat the shit out of animals. Like they treat them like crap. and just their living conditions in general is crap. You're taking all that in, right? You're taking all that energy in. Everything that the animal went through, chicken, cow, pig, whatever animal it is, uh, you're taking that in. So if they're raised in really poor, horrible conditions where the owner don't give a shit about them, they're beating them, living in their own crap, they're eating toxic diets, you're taking all of that in. You're taking all the energy in, right? So yeah, avoid that. Know where your animal food's coming from because that's karma. That's real. Like you're taking like animal life. You better be sure that you want that energy, right? Don't be ignorant about it. Avoid like highly processed food, right? Just eat close to nature. That's going to be the highest vibe food you can get, and that will 100% influence your mind and your emotions, right? And your body and your looks. It influences your looks. People who eat a lot of pig look like pig. People who eat a lot of chicken look like chickens, right? Yeah. I mean, people who eat a lot of cow look like cow too, but like it works a little better. I mean, it just looks better. It's a little more natural, I guess you could say, for our bodies. Anyway, yeah, so make sure the food thing also like with the cooking, like a lot of cooking styles, like they always want to sear the crap out of everything and burn the crap out of it. That's not healthy. It's not. Like even if you use good oils, like seed oils are all the rage these days about like, like the worst food to eat. I'm sorry, every single cooking show you eat, you watch, they're burning all their food. The burnt fat, burnt protein is carcinogenic. It destroys the quality of the. So what I'm saying is like restaurant quality food, where they're burning the meat and all that. That's not. I mean, first of all, it's meat. Second of all, it's burnt. The way they cook steaks, it's burned. Like they're just smoking the shit out of the fat and the oil and everything. That's not healthy. It's not high vibrational food, right? More traditional styles of cooking, more wet. But like the modern high intensity, high flame, everything's burned and like, super intense. That's not healthy. Anything excess, like any fat, sugar, protein, everything, right? Sometimes you see like high protein diet is the best for no, it's not. Like traditionally, you can't even like imagine everyone in the world just like went on a carnivore diet. You wouldn't be able to feed everyone. Like you just wouldn't. It's not practical at all. It's selfish as shit. Like it's like, oh, you're gonna eat that way. Well, you're gonna force other people to eat rice and beans, right? Because you can't just have everyone eating cows all the time. Like there's not enough resources in the world for that, right? And it's not healthy anyway. So anyway, balanced diet. Yeah, avoid chemicals, obviously. You know, drugs, pharmaceuticals, that's low vibe shit. You're not gonna anyway, there's no health in a pill, right? Like for temporary measures, yeah, but like the modern paradigms, like health comes in a pill, health comes in a needle. No, it fucking doesn't, right? That's low vibe shit because you're not taking responsibility for yourself and you're putting on, I'm just gonna take a pill and therefore I don't have to eat healthy anymore. No, you just fucking don't, right? Like I'm not gonna go for a walk, I'm just gonna take a pill. I'm not gonna build my immunity, I'm just gonna take a needle. Fuck you are, right? You're gonna get sick. Like that's not healthy. That's not high vibe. You're not gonna raise your vibration that way. You're passing the buck. You're taking no responsibility for your own health, right? Health comes from effort, right? You're not gonna take a pill and get healthy. You're just not. Like for emergency measures, yeah, it's fine. Like you have an accident or whatever, like you have something where you just need to get under control really quickly, fine. But for any of the long-term measures, like it's all about your own effort and knowing about health. Take responsibility, right? So that's going to be low vibe as far as like the food, and I don't want to belabor this because there's a lot to get through. Um, yeah, eat really healthy. Lifestyle and activity, right? Have a regular schedule. Um, One thing that I just want to put that is really important is like one way, one summation of what we're here to do is to summon our will, right? What's will? Willpower. There's two kinds of will. There's God's will or universal will. That's like the will that's inborn in us, like we feel in our heart. Like some people are just like they feel in their heart they're born to be a dancer, right? Nothing's gonna stop. That's not really your will. That's God's will, or that's like the will of the of life, or maybe you planned that before you were born, but it's still like a divine will, you could say, right? A soul's will, God's will, right? The second kind of will is willpower, where we are exerting our individual will, our ego's will, right? Where we're like, you're using your mind and you're like, I have to do this. I have to do this. Me as an individual, I have to, I'm try, oh, get up early and try. That's really, really important because it's establishing us as an individual. We're gathering our will, and it's a very actual, it's not metaphorical. It's an actual energetic thing where you're condensing your own willpower, your own ego, your own semi-consciousness through effort, and by doing that, you're energizing it and you're actually raising the vibration. So when people seek out like I'm gonna climb Mount Everest, right? Like really difficult stuff. I'm gonna do a marathon. I'm gonna run the Boston Marathon, whatever, right? And they do it, and they're like, "Oh, I'm Superman. I'm super proud of myself." Like, yeah, awesome. Like, all that's doing is like you're gathering your will, you're strengthening your will, you're making yourself more conscious, you're adding to your experience, and now you're more of an individual. Because low consciousness, remember, is like following. Like I'm just one of the herd, I'm one of the crowd, I'm an NPC, I'm a sheep, I'm just do whatever, whatever my environment tells me to do, right? There's no individuality in low consciousness. There's a lot of individuality in high consciousness. High vibe is high individuality, right? So the more you can gather your will to make yourself an individual, which is what it takes, what it requires, right? And that's the end result when you gather your will and you exert and you're like climb Mount Everest. How many people can claim they climb Mount Everest, right? There's probably like a roster of names, and they're like, these are the people who didn't die, who came down, who climbed Mount Everest and came down, right? It's like an achievement. Now you can be like, you go to a cocktail party, I climbed Mount Everest, right? Like you're an individual because of your accomplishments or whatever, right? Like I ran 10 marathons. That makes me unique. And, I can, now I'm something to brag about, whatever, right? But you're through your own efforts, you are gathering your will, you're making yourself more individual, and you are raising your vibration because we raise our vibration through having experiences that are not where we're not creating more karma for ourselves, right? Negative karma anyway. Right. So lifestyle activity, regular schedule, get up early. This is something like you can do in a small way. It's not really hard to get up early, but when you're doing it every day for your whole life, then it's like, it has a big effect, right? You want to apply your will to every area of your life. Like there's no area where you just want to be like, oh, it's going to be fucking, if you're watching a movie, fine, you're relaxing, right? Rest and relaxation, but like everything should be conscious. If you want to raise your vibration, everything should be a conscious choice, right? So have a regular schedule for your daily routine. Like get up early. Getting up early is super healthy and it will help you raise your vibration. Also, like um the morning energy, the rising energy is very conducive to raising your vibration because the rising, same, right? And that's what like if you go to any sort of religious grouping, they're all going to get up early. Like you go to Zen Monster, they're getting up at like 3 a.m., right? Ridiculous. They probably do like similar or another place. I don't know all the details, but like yeah, they're getting up early. They have a schedule. It's all very orderly. You want that order. Um, Sleep well, walk, exercise, all the, yoga, tai chi, qigong, whatever suits your, martial arts, if that's, as long as it's not low vibe, I guess, if there's like a spiritual quality to it, a higher energy. Regular meals. Yeah. And so you're going to want to make your daily routine a thing where you have to put some effort into it. You want to challenge yourself a little bit and um you want to make it so that it's not like just you're coasting through your day without a thought, right? You want to be conscious and efforting. Effort is really important. There's no growth without effort, right? If you want a free ride, if you're just like, how can I become really spiritual with no effort? You're not going to. That's ego. That's nonsense. You're not going to. Like, I want to be really rich and super spiritual and like never have, all my hardships taken away and I'm gonna be super spiritual. No, you're not. You're just not. You won't. Guaranteed, right? It's not to say that rich people can't be spiritual, but then the stakes are raised. Then you have to use your money for, to help people, whatever. But anyway, just talking about regular people here. Um, yeah, so you want to make an effort. Cold showers and baths are really good. I mean, because not only do they strengthen your immunity, it's like also like testing your willpower, right? Like you're strengthening your will, you're gathering your will, like I'm gonna do it, and then you do something and it's good for you, and it's healthy, right? And also as far as lifestyle abstinence, right? Because we need this energy, right? And if you're like having lots of sex, all your energy is wasted, especially for men, and then you don't have any energy for anything else, right? And you don't have any energy for meditation, for spirituality, for efforting, for so like yeah, and if you're in a relationship, you can abstain together if you want. Like that's a thing, right? Both couples are abstaining for a while or whatever, right? But if you're withholding not ejaculating for men, right? That's important because you need that's also the basis for Kundalini because Kundalini is at the base of the spine and it's using the same energy, right? It's either coming out horizontally, right, the base of the spine, the penis, right, or it's going vertically, right? So you want it to go more vertically. It's the same kind of thing. Raising vibration is essentially, if your Kundalini is active, it's raising Kundalini as well, right? So anyway, yeah, abstinence important. Um, avoid um all things are consumption, all energies are consumption, right? So avoid low vibe music. I mean, this is really important. Like people are like listening to like heavy metal and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be super spiritual." No, you're not. You're not because like you're dragging, you're working against your own desire, your own direction with when you're listening to heavy low vibe music. It's whether it's like heavy metal, gangster rap, even pop. Like a lot of pop is really just very low vibe, right? Pop music. Um, Essentially, most music is going to be low vibrational, right? Most music that's out there. And it's not a judgment. Like I've listened to a lot of, punk and metal and rock and roll and all that and stuff. Like, fine, if you want to do that, that's fine, but don't kid yourself. You're not being more spiritual by listening to this music because it's influencing you. It's influencing your brain, your mind, your energy. It's a vibration. And it goes is deeply influential, right? So make sure the music that you're listening to is high vibe. Like these days, because this is where I'm at. Like I don't listen to anything except high vibe devotional type music. Kirtan. I love kirtan. That's the music I listen to. And similar types of music. Um, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. That's that's the stuff I like right now. But because of the vibration, because of the whole intention behind it, right? On the same level, like porn is extremely low vibrational. Porn is one of the things that's destroying modern civilization, modern culture, right? Because it's really, really low. And think about I know some people are like, oh, make excuses. Oh no, sex is healthy. It's blah blah. Think about all the things that go along with porn, drugs, sex trafficking, child porn, right? Like it's a really like a monstrous activity. It's extremely low vibe. It invades your mind and really drags you down. And you're taking a lot of heavy karma with it because of the industry. Because like you can't just watch porn and think you're separate from everything that goes along with it. All the child sex trafficking, all the women sex trafficking, the drugs, the slavery, the criminality behind it. You're a part of that. If you're watching porn, you're taking on that karma. You are not raising your vibration if you are taking part in porn. You are not, right? Horror too, right? Some people, like I had a big disagreement. Like for a little while, I thought I was gonna be a writer. I was like, oh, I took some writing classes, and the teachers are all like, oh, all writing styles are equally valid, including horror. I'm like, no, they're not. Horror is not a valid. It's like the equivalent of porn versus a movie, and you're like making a case like porn has, all the um what redeeming qualities of like high art film. No, it fucking doesn't, right? Not everything is the same. And if you're horror, if you're gore, like movies or books or whatever, stories, that's really low vibe, right? It's right up there with porn, right? Ultra violent. A lot of movies are ultra violent, and I'm not saying they're not entertaining, but like, don't fucking kid yourself. You're taking in all that imagery, you're lowering your vibe because violence, again, is that low vibe energy. because it's there's no internal energy, so the activity is coming externalizing itself. It's becoming outwardly aggressive, right? Instead of inwardly energized, right? Same with porn. Porn is very low vibe, right? Um, yeah, so avoid all that shit. Like seriously, be very conscious about what you take in, right? People are like, "Oh, I like scary movies." It's not good. It's not healthy. You're not helping yourself, right? If you want to experience that, fine, but like get over it, get off it. Like you're polluting your mind. You're polluting your subconscious. Um, yeah, so like other things to avoid are like radiation, electromagnetic frequencies. Um, so like, like minor stuff like I unplug the Wi-Fi at night. Um, I don't put a computer on my lap because I keep my phone, try and keep my phone away from my body. You're taking in a lot of radiation with all this modern technology. So just be mindful of that. Be mindful of your clothes, right? If you're wearing all synthetic clothes, that's gonna ruin your electric charge. It's gonna lower your vibe, right? Um, yeah. So be natural, avoid excessive radiation as much as possible, wear natural clothing. Be natural, right? Have a natural environment. Um, so yeah, now people avoid low vibe people, right? Like you're not nobody's immune to the influence of other people, right? Um, unless you're like, a master and you're healing someone and you're just like using that for a little, but still like then you're gonna know how much you can take and you're gonna know how to clear your energy. But like if you have friends, acquaintances, people you hang out with who are low vibe, distance yourself, right? Like you're not going to raise your vibration if you're constantly hanging around low vibe people, and everyone knows this, right? Like you're the sum of your like five closest friends or whatever, 10, I don't know what they say, like something like that, right? It's a thing. People know that, and it's true. Like avoid the people who are going to bring you down. Um, avoid the scenes that are bring you down, the groups, the communities, right? Like you're not gonna if you're going to bars all the time, that's not healthy. You're not gonna raise your vibration. Bars are pretty low vibe. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of bars in general, or just like different groups or communities, like be careful about who you're surrounding yourself with. Right? That's going to negatively influence you vibrationally. Um, be careful of what kind of media you consume, right? People don't realize like the media is fake news. Like they think they're still in the old trend. Like Obama literally changed the laws to make propaganda legal. I mean, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's a real thing. Like, and so that's been ever since. Like they're legally allowed to lie on the news, and they do all the time. It's very low vibe. It's like people go crazy because they take in the legacy media, which is fake news. It's propaganda. It's just propaganda. It's pure propaganda, 100%, right? And they're taking it in, and it's just like you're not going to have a sane, healthy, balanced, high vibe life if you're believing lies, right? Your own or others. So that's very important. Um, don't control or interfere with other people's lives. And like, I mean, I've had this happen to me. Sometimes it's like we write it into a contract, a soul contract, right? Just so to have this experience. Yeah, fine. But if that's not part of like, if there's a conscious choice where you're just like, I'm going to control this person or I'm going to interfere with their life, that's not. You're creating karma for yourself and you're backtracking. You're creating a stumbling block for yourself because now you're going to have to karmically you're going to have to receive the similar kind of energy that you put on other. If you're controlling them, something's going to control you, them or somebody else, right? You're going to have the same level of whatever you put out, you're going to get back. It's karma. So that's a roadblock. It's a stumbling block, and it's also like it's unless it's contracted in our soul contract, um, then it's fulfilling some kind of karma anyway. But like yeah, yeah, it's a breach of trust, right? We have our life plan. If you veer from that and like you're trying to control people, you're interfering with their lives, leave people alone. Right? Don't get involved with their life because now you have you're tying your karma to theirs, right? if somebody does something and you don't like it, but it's like, okay, they're not harming anyone, they're just being a jerk. They're just like just being obnoxious. If you don't want to involve your karma with theirs, like leave them alone. So yeah, try and leave people alone. Like don't interfere with other people's lives, period. Right? Um, don't be violent. I mean, that's pretty obvious. That's huge karma, right? That's an invasion of somebody else's, you know, uh, autonomy, sovereignty. Right? Don't lie, don't manipulate, and oh, don't steal. Don't take things that aren't yours, right? I mean, so I was like reading my own handwriting, couldn't read it. Yeah, that's pretty. If you lie, if you make a habit of lying, guess what? Karmically, you're gonna believe lies because you're causing other people to believe things that aren't true. Unless you're a really bad liar, which in that case, you're probably not, nobody's gonna believe you. But if you're a good liar, right? If you're a terrible liar, there would be no point in lying. But if you're a good liar, then you're causing people to believe things that aren't true. Guess what's going to happen karmically? You're going to believe things that aren't true, right? So you're screwing yourself. And therefore, you're just living in a world of confusion and lies. So, like, yeah, if you want to live in a world of confusion, it'd be a liar. If you want to live in a world of truth, tell the truth. That's karmically, that's the way it goes. If you want to understand the truth, you have to tell the truth. It doesn't mean, like, you know, telling a little kid something that's going to hurt them, right? Or something like that. You have to use your judgment, but it's like the truth is bigger than like, like avoiding something that might harm a child or something like that, or somebody you love, right? Anyway, don't manipulate other people again, because you're going to be manipulated too karmically. And all of these things, they're creating karma, they're slowing you down, they're holding you back, right? Don't steal. Um, meditation is extremely powerful for raising your vibration. And why is that? Number one, you're turning your consciousness internal, right? And just an analogy, if looking at the astrology chart, the equivalent would be looking at the 12th house, right? The direction of the ascendant is from first house to second house, third house, right? It's moving that way. But meditation is like looking into the 12th house, right? But what you're doing is you're making yourself very still. Remember what I said about stillness versus activity. If you're very still, then you have to start vibrating higher. It's a direct correlation. And what's going to happen? You're starting to vibrate higher. Then all the things that are low vibration are going to feel very uncomfortable. That's why people don't like meditating, because the low vibration parts of themselves, which are conscious, right? They're influencing your brain, your mind. You're feeling them. And you're just like, oh, I'm nervous. I'm anxious. I can't sit still. Oh, my mind's. That's all low vibrational stuff. And you have to just push through that. Eventually, all the low vibe stuff is going to come to conscious. It's going to become more conscious. It's going to raise its own vibration through effort, right? Meditation is not easy. Like you have to effort, right? Especially initially. Eventually, you pass through the resistance. The resistance is the unconsciousness, right? Right. But while you're unconscious, while you're still raising your vibrations, there is effort there. So make an effort to sit still, right? And be as still as possible. And then all the low vibe stuff is going to come to consciousness. It's going to burn itself up, in meaning that it's going to raise its vibration. So that's where the effort comes in. Constantly like, okay, stillness, center, follow my breath, right? Like that's the kind of meditation I breathe in, breathe out, follow my breath, right? You're breathing in to the lungs. Lungs is the heart's in the center of the lungs. So you're breathing in down to the heart, right? And then if you're breathing through your mouth, it's just going through the throat and then to the mouth. But if you're breathing through your nose, it's actually going to the third eye, right? So if you breathe into, you're connecting third eye, throat chakra, heart chakra, right? And if you bring your consciousness, if you're paying attention, then you're activating heart, throat, third eye, right? And then you follow your breath up and down like that. So yeah, and then that's a very powerful, one of the most powerful ways of raising your vibration, right? Self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is, who am I, right? Because it's important to we have to bring the mind along. We have to challenge our own belief systems. Um, and when you start to chew on this question, I don't want to tell you what to believe or what you'll find, but you're going to go deeper and deeper and find out you're not this, you're not that, you're not the body, you're not the mind, you're not the emotions, you're something prior to all of that, right? So it's a question that is meant for your soul, right? Don't 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 be content with a pithy intellectual answer, right? If your mind says, I'm a blah, 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 great. If you want to write it down, fine. Let it go. Forget about it for now. Just let the question do what it needs to do. Keep thinking about it. Keep mulling on it. And it's a question that's going to be with you for years, decades, right? Who am I? Who the fuck am I? Who is I? Who is I? What is I? What does it even mean? Where does this come from? Right? Get real with it. Some people are like, oh, what am I is a better question. Fine. What am I? But like, what is this I? What is this I? What is the I thought? What is a thought? Who's thinking? Right? Who does the I refer to? Right? It's not the body. It's not just spoiler alert. That's not the conclusion. It's not the body and the consciousness, the brain produces. That's not the answer, right? That's a way to put your mind to sleep. It's a way to, kill the question. That's not the conclusion, right? That's not the real answer. So anyway, who am I? Fantastic question. Meditate on it. It's something that you can, if you have a pithy answer and you're like, oh, I know who I am. I'm blah 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 blah. You're just avoiding it, right? That's not it. Whatever you can say isn't it. It's a thing that'll get you deeper into yourself. And if you really follow it, it'll shift your identity, which is called spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening equals a shift in identity, right? That's what that is. A real spiritual awakening will be followed by, or will encompass a shift in identity. A shift in identity will also parallel a spiritual awakening. Oh, I'm something much greater than I thought. Wow, right? It's a huge release of energy, and your identity is like no longer supporting the low vibrational energy, and so that's like that has to fall away. And that's why we after a spiritual awakening, you get the dark night of the soul, right? Because like now you've disidentified with a whole bunch of consciousness that you thought you were, and now that all that energy, all that consciousness now it has to go through its dark night, which is the very early, very low level stages of consciousness as it raises its vibration. Prayer is another great one. And who are you praying to? I recommend God, right? God, the one creator of all of us, right? We are a spark of God. We are a spark of God's divinity, of God's light. Yeah, prayers, especially if it's heartfelt. If it's from the brain or you're just doing it rote, I mean, fine, there's some effort there, but like, try and be genuine about it. That's when your prayers are going to be heard, right? That's where your prayers are going to have influence, effect, power. You can say them out loud. You can do silent prayer if you like that too. It's a little different. So, spoken prayer, I think is a lot more like concrete and like there's a commitment there. But if you like silent prayer, that's fine too, right? Um, and don't just pray for like, dear God, I need a new Corvette, whatever. Like it's useless. Like that's not going to help you, right? That's just ego bullshit, materialism. Um, Pray not only for what you want for yourself, particularly in the lines of higher, develop like, please God help me through this challenge, help me understand, help me see, help, stuff like that. That's a good thing to pray for. Or pray for other people, right? Pray for those you love, pray for those who your enemies, pray for those you don't love. That's really powerful as well, right? Pray for the world, pray for peace, right? So that's what I recommend for as far as prayer goes. Have it be very genuine and authentic, right? Not serving the ego. Serving the prayer that serves the ego isn't real prayer. It's just nonsense. Anyway, consume very high vibe spiritual content, whatever that is for you, right? Whatever spiritual text you like, spiritual teachings, either whether you're listening or reading, that's going to be excellent to raise your vibration, right? Um, Forgiveness. I These are kind of haphazard because I was just like thinking and organizing, but forgiveness is extremely important. We have to forgive others and we have to forgive ourselves too. And if you can't forgive yourself, you're not really going to forgive others. It's just like a kind of like ceremonial, it's like a gratuitous kind of thing. You have to forgive yourself. Forgiveness all around is what I usually say. When I reflect on things that happened in the past and I'm like, oh yeah, I could have done a lot better there. And in my mind, I'm asking that person's soul for forgiveness, right? But at the same time, I'm saying I also need to forgive myself. So it's like, please forgive me. I also need to forgive me, right? I didn't know any better. I was doing the best I could at that time, right? And live and learn, right? It's all experience at the end of the day, but we have to clear that energy by forgiving. And I forgive you for what you did to me, and I forgive myself. And I also um, ask that they forgive themselves, right? That's part of my prayer. Forgiveness all around. I forgive you, you forgive me, I forgive myself, you forgive yourself. A lot of forgiveness all around. And that clears the energy. That clears all the karma, all the ties, or at least it starts that process, right? It could be like maybe you need to do that several times, revisit it again and again until it's fully cleared for you. Right? Spend time with high vibe people, right? Avoid the low vibe people. Spend time with high vibe people, especially people who are more evolved than you, right? That's really powerful. Like if you can find a spiritual teacher, or just maybe they don't even call themselves a spiritual teacher. Maybe they're just really wise and evolved, and you just love being around them, and they're lifting you up, right? They have that you have the feeling like you're a better person when you're around them. That's the kind of people you want to spend time with, right? Listen to kirtan. Kirtan is specifically like this. I already touched on this, but like kirtan is specifically designed for raising vibration, for becoming more spiritually evolved, more conscious, right? Um, but if you like a different type of religious music, devotional music, and you're singing and dancing to it, that's great, right? Partake, sing, dance, move the body. That's you're uh aligning with high vibrational music and intention, and you are raising your vibration in that way, right? Um, I mean, singing and dancing in general is fine. I think it's much more powerful when the intention is to that specifically. Like if you're just going to a dance club and dancing, yeah, that's fine, that's good, right? But when you're doing it to like music that's devoted to God, devoted to spiritual realization, that's way more powerful. Service to others, right? Like, like charity work, helping other people, using your skills, your talents, your gifts to help other people, help the world become a better place, right? That's important. Do your duty, whatever your duty is, right? And it might be like, you just got bills to pay and you got to go to work and you got to do the job and the thing and maybe it's not like glamorous. Maybe it's not, as long as you're not hurting other people, um, if you're doing your duty, what the things that you're responsible for, taking care of your family, taking care of your responsibilities, right? That's important. And if you're neglecting it, that's going to be a karmic drain. That's going to be something that you're going to have to work on in the future, right? You're putting a future roadblock up there for you, right? So do your duty, heal your trauma and suppressed emotions, right? Suppressed emotions, maybe not as intensely, but suppressed emotions. If you just like grew up in a household where you're just like, don't cry, don't express, like you learn that it's not safe to express yourself. Over time, that's going to be really damaging. But trauma is as well, and trauma automatically leads to suppressed emotions because what happens with trauma is like it's an overwhelming amount of fear that is released at the time of an event that you can't process it. So it all goes deep inside and it becomes essentially suppressed. So it's the same essentially. But, you know, I would say between the two, trauma seems to be a little more damaging. The quality that because it's so sudden and it's so harsh and it's almost like, you know, it's damaging uh our energy system, right? It's like goes so deep. Anyway, either one, you the result is the same. You have to work on that to release the essentially their emotions, their fear. It's fear, right? It goes in the nervous system, goes into the organs, goes into the joints, goes everywhere, and it hides. But through meditation, through all the other spiritual practices, they can be released, right? You know, therapy, different kinds of therapies. Talk therapy is fine, it's important, but actually they found like the best the best way to um, release or reduce depression was dancing, right? So that's similar to like the kirtan thing, singing, dancing, but like long walks and jogging, that's also going to be really helpful. Yoga is extremely helpful for that as well. There's many ways to heal, modern techniques, methodologies for healing trauma, suppressed emotions, but you're not going to ignore that and raise your vibration. If you're ignoring that, you're not doing it, right? You have to face your emotions. You have to face your trauma. You have to face your all the things that are trapped inside you that you didn't want to look at all those years ago, right? The anger, the sadness, the you know whatever it was, the trauma, the abuse, the suppression, the oppression, whatever it was. Very important. It literally parallels your spiritual growth, right? You're not going to avoid it. You're not going to, oh, short circuited that. No, you're not. Um, Seek truth. Seek the truth, right? If you think you have the truth, and you're like, oh, this book is the truth. No book is the truth. I mean, no words are the truth. The words are not capable of encompassing the truth. What the truth is an embodiment, right? So if you're not embodying the truth more and more, then you're just playing a game, like you're dreaming and you're having a fantasy, right? If you're just like, this is the truth in this book, I'm not saying books aren't useful, but that's not the truth. The truth is it has to be embodied. It has to be a realization. It has to be a full experience, even beyond an experience. It has to be, you are the truth, right? So it's seeking yourself, seeking your higher and higher. And there's more and more. So it's not, and there's no endpoint, right? So if you're like, I already got the truth, then you definitely do not have the truth, right? There is no getting the truth. The truth is constant expansion and growth. So it's the direction of the soul, direction of God, direction of spirituality, direction of higher vibration. That's your direction. It's your compass, right? So seek God, seek the truth. These are the same things, right? And like depending on your tradition, like the Buddha wasn't seeking God, he was seeking himself, he was seeking the truth. But that's the ultimate nirvana is oneness with God, right? There's really no separation there. It's not like, the person who seeks God and finds God is any different from the person who seeks himself and reaches nirvana, right? That's the same conclusion. Question, don't be like, I've got the answers for these questions. No, I mean, like, you have a answer, but like an answer, if you're holding to an answer and dropping the question, that's dead. You're stopping all growth. But if you're holding on to the question and letting the answers go, you're keeping the growth alive. And yes, it's more uncomfortable. It's more of a state of like, I don't know. Like, but that's okay. Like, embrace not knowing. Like, people want to feel like they know everything. They want to know like the answer to everything. I'm just like, oh, I figured it out. This is the answer. It's whatever. Jesus, Buddha, Allah, blah 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 blah. Whatever it is. Yeah, you're dead in the water. You're stuck because you think you have the answer. But like, if you're okay with not knowing, then you can keep growing, keep getting more and more answers. So that's the orientation that I think is much more conducive to growth, to higher vibrations. Like, don't feel like you have to know everything, right? Like, you can suspect this and that and the other, but like, be open, right? You can have your beliefs, like I believe in God, but I'm like constantly questioning even like what is God like, like, and I've heard different answers, so it's not like really want to go deep into that, but like, my understanding of God keeps growing. It's not like there's this static thing, or the universe, or the soul, or consciousness, right? And how do they all relate, right? How do they differ, right? So, like that. It's a questioning mentality. Yeah. So that's essentially um this video, why I wanted to make this video. And like I wanted to make it because I wanted to help people understand like where they might be sabotaging themselves. Like, oh, I meditate, but I'm, eating, cheeseburgers and cheesesteaks all the time. By the way, meat and cheese together, there's a reason people don't do that. Okay, like Jews don't eat them together, but like Hindus take it a step further. They eat dairy, but they won't eat the cow. You know why? Because energetically, they're like, well, the cow produces milk, and we're taking the milk and the dairy, and we're eating that. And so like the cow's like our mother. Right? And that's a spiritual perspective because like they're showing reverence, they're paying attention, they're being conscious of what they're eating. They're like, the cow gave us the milk. Cow's like our mother. We can't eat our mother, right? And Americans are like, especially Philadelphia, where cheesesteaks famous, they're like, fuck that. We're gonna, we're gonna eat the cow and the milk together. It's gonna be a whole thing, right? Um, yeah, it's totally insensitive, right? Like you're not raising your vibrations. You're like, cheesesteak, cheesesteak, cheesesteak. No, like you're shooting yourself in the foot, right? And then you're like, porn, right? And then like hanging out with drug addicts and criminals and lowlifes, right? Like, no, right? Like alcohol is another one that'll lower your vibration very quickly. That's why people like it. Because it lowers inhibition, because like it just makes you less conscious, right? So like you want to be less conscious so you can like ask that girl out on a date or whatever, right? It's I understand alcohol, like I've drank plenty and I'm not judging anyone, but that's not going to raise your vibration. You're not going to raise your vibration drinking alcohol. It's going to lower your vibration. That's what it does. It's very, straightforwardly lowers your vibration. And if you're sensitive, it's obvious. Um, Different plant medicines, you're gonna have to use your own discretion about that, but they can help you break through like difficult stagnant energies, right? That's not to say that you don't have to do the work on the other end, right? If you do like some plant medicine and you have like a spiritual awakening, which is possible, right? You still have to do the work to get to there, because remember what I said, if you have a spiritual awakening, it's followed by a dark night of the soul. You could awaken something prematurely. Now you got like this terrible, terrible dark night of the soul that you have to work through. Doesn't mean you don't get to keep the realization, but now you got to work on all this other stuff, and it might be a lot. It might be overwhelming, and sometimes people just like it's too much, right? So you have to be careful with that. So yeah, don't do more than you're ready for as far as like plant medicine, right? Whatever it is. So anyway, guys, I don't want to take too long with this, but um that's my um spiel talk on raising your vibration, how to raise your vibration. It's important. It's very important for nowadays. Very important for anyone who is on a conscious path, right? Who's not totally materialistic, atheistic. Um but if you are, you're probably not watching this, right? So like, yeah, if you have a more spiritual orientation, just be aware of all the things that might be like holding you back. Like, like maybe like you meditate a lot, but then you read horror stories and you're like, why am I not progressing? Well, you're filling your mind with very low vibe, heavy stuff. So anyway, guys, I said it all. Don't want to repeat myself. So hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and book a reading with me. I'm taking readings, so just email me, macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.